When I was 5 or 6 years of age, I had my first premonition, which is I knew something was going to happen in the future. And I'm skipping away in the backyard like every little 6-year-old does. I'm happy, I'm joyous, I'm happy. And all of a sudden, I got a prophecy, which means a picture. So I got a picture, a little movie in my head of my cousin Chris being in a motorcycle accident. I'm skipping, and all of a sudden, well, that doesn't sound cool. So I got a little bit frightened, but I ran into the house. My mother's at the stove making dinner. I said, Mom, something really weird just happened to me. I saw this little movie in my head, and it was cousin Chris getting in a motorcycle accident. My mother hit me up the side of the head. She looked at me and she said, that's the devil's work. No. 2 weeks to the day, my cousin was in a motorcycle accident. And my mother got the phone call from my aunt, and she looked at me, and I knew that phone call. She grabs me by my knee, and she looks at me, what the hell am I going to do with you now? Almost instantaneously, I had the little angel on my shoulder saying, this is not the devil's work. We are going to do great things with you. I remember it distinctly, even though I was little. So I never stopped having premonition after that. I just kept my mouth shut.
Welcome, Elizabeth Parojcic, a special friend of mine, a family member, as I like to call, and a dear mentor of mine that I learn a lot, and not consciously, but every time we hang out and sit down and have dinner or go out, and I'm just learning every minute that I spend with you, Beth. And I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
It is my pleasure. Totally my pleasure.
And I'm excited. I'm excited we're gonna dig in the topic that we never talked before in our podcast. And I would love to ask some, please let us know who Elizabeth Parojcic is.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that our younger crowd are not aware what you do and who you are, and I'm sure you can let us know better than I do in what your powers are.
I'll take over from
please,
that. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Any chance I get on planet Earth to talk about intuition, I'm your girl. Like I'm all of that. So Elizabeth Parojcic, I'm from Canada, born and raised, 3rd generation Canadian. So I don't put extra heritage on it. I am truly a Canadian.
Okay.
My title for career is intuitive therapist. Therapist kind of explains itself. I'm a therapist. The intuitive part is almost always begs for a little bit of explanation.
Yes.
I have honed in a super strong sense of my own intuition to the point that this is going to sound woohoo at first, but I guarantee you by the time we're finished the conversation, it won't be as woohoo. I changed my vibration to such a high degree that I can communicate with non-physical energies and can read off of other people's energies who are in front of me, or a dog, or it doesn't matter to me what the being is. I can feel the energy,
the vibration.
It's all about vibration. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. So it's a honing in of a skill that we all have. So I will never say that I am gifted. People say you have a gift. I do not have a gift. I was born with this.
And we all are.
We all are. Everyone has the same capabilities that I have. I just happen to be a little bit of a nut about it, and I really honed the ability through a series of events. We can talk about that in a minute. This is just kind of like big picture. And I've been in private practice for about 30, I think I'm up to 35 years, for gosh sakes. I can't believe I've been in private practice that long. I also do a lot of public speaking about intuition. I do workshops on intuition, business places.
You have a great Instagram page too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, follow me. That would be great. That would be great. Yeah. So I'm all about sharing not just my intuitive skill and what I can offer people as a result of it, but to help them deal with it too. Help everybody hone into that skill. Doesn't matter how this much, doesn't matter to me if it's this much. Just hone into that skill, because it's part of our God-given, universally given right. Yeah. And how important, I'm finding it more and more important in the world that we live in, that I'd be able to connect with you that way. I'd be able to connect with you that way, you that way. Anybody else who comes into my fray in a day, it's important that we connect with each other in a benevolent way.
Mhm.
in a loving kindness kind of way. We have enough divisiveness. We don't need any more of that. Thank you very much. But if we all just tapped into that little space of intuition, change the bloody world. We could change the bloody world. That's the way I look at it. So I'm just going to do one talk at a time, one client at a time, one
Change
public
it.
speaking to carry on with that, because at the core of my being, I know this is what's right for the world.
Is intuition an emotion? Is it a gut feeling? Is it combination of both? I'm just trying to understand. I mean, is it a habit that people can dive into and just become very intuitive when they make a decision, regardless, is it a business decision, getting married, is it only for like a positive vibration kind of an intuition, or you can sense home, that's a bad guy, I don't want to deal with this guy, or I don't want to do partnership with this guy in my business?
Right. No, 100%. There's high vibrating and low vibrating. We like to train people or help people get to the place of what we call neutral. Not high, not low, just neutral. Neutral is good.
Okay.
Neutral's fine. Neutral's the place to start. So intuition is not an emotion. It's an entity unto itself. And I use my hands this way because it's an easy way to describe it. It's like this little ball of golden awesomeness that sits in our solar plexus. That's where the intuition sits. That's where the higher self sits. That's where the soul sits. That's where all the good stuff sits, right there in our solar plexus, which is why so many people refer to their intuition as the gut instinct. Okay. It sits
Second
right there.
brain.
Sits right there in the gut. And the millisecond as we hone in onto that and we kind of get that ball rolling, I'll put it to you this way. Most people's little golden ball of intuition sits dormant because we're not taught to use it. So there it sits and there it sits. And every once in a while, it'll give you a little bit of an inkling about something and we don't pay attention. I was not taught to pay attention. I'm not going to pay attention. Society tells me not to pay attention. My culture tells me not to pay attention. My religion tells me not to pay attention. So it sits there all dormant. But I've yet to meet anybody in thousands of readings that I've done who, when they got the nudge that this is not a good idea, something wasn't a good idea, and they didn't pay attention to it, it went wrong. Not one. I've done thousands. I've done thousands and thousands of readings, and every single client or public speaking gig or whatever else I do, I talk to people and I say, did you ever have that little tiny thing that said, don't do that, don't buy that car, or don't go down that street, or that, and ever have it go right? Never. I'm not a scientist, but that's to me a form of research. Never. I have 100% track record of people saying I should have listened at that particular point in time. And that goes for the other side as well. I knew that girl was for me, or I knew that business partner was for me. And I took that opportunity, and look what we've created, right? So it can go both ways. It's not an emotion. It's an entity unto itself. If that it makes it any clearer for you. If not, keep asking.
No, it does. It amazes me why, we don't see a lot of people talking about intuition. And I remember I was very young when I first sensed an emotion or a feeling of intuition of, doing the right or the good thing, and then, making a decision to move from the Balkans here. And everything was, I think I was driven by an intuition of my higher self, of my higher vibration of myself.
Yep.
But I was confused. I didn't know what that is. Is it God? Is it, my higher self talking to me in the future? What is it? How can I become better in using the intuition for my business, being a father, a husband, and watching you and your family, and how you guys are, you're successful in many ways, not just business-wise, but family-wise and love and friendship. I know for a fact that intuition is very, very important to dig into it and become better. So how can one become better? Are there books that we can read? How many people are out there that are very knowledgeable about intuition?
Yeah, they
don't teach this in school.
Oh gosh, no. Only if I could get my hands on the classroom.
Yeah,
if only I could get my hands on that.
I want you to talk to Bella, my 9-year-old, about intuition.
The thing about the little ones, though, that I'll share with you is this generation, the Bella's, your daughter, and even my children who are in their late 20s. Of course, my husband and I raised them in an intuitive environment. They kind of already get it a lot. And fortunately for children like yours and like mine, my husband and I, you and your wife, are not squishing that. When I was a kid, I'll tell you a little story. If this might be a good segue to a little story. When I was 5 or 6 years of age, I had my first premonition, which is I knew something was going to happen in the future. And I was little, obviously, 5 or 6. And I'm skipping away in the backyard like every little 6-year-old does. I'm happy, I'm joyous, I'm happy. And all of a sudden, through prophecy, which is a way of the benevolent universe speaking to us, they'll speak to us many different ways. So we'll get into that. But for this particular story, I got a prophecy, which means a picture. So I got a picture, a little movie in my head of my cousin Chris being in a motorcycle accident. And I'm 6. 5 or 6. My mother thinks I was 6. I know. So I'm skipping, and all of a sudden, well, that doesn't sound cool. So I got a little bit frightened, but I ran into the house. My mother's at the stove making dinner. I said, Mom, something really weird just happened to me. I saw this little movie in my head, and it was cousin Chris getting in a motorcycle accident. My mother hit me up the side of the head.
What are you talking?
Born and raised Roman Catholic. I have nothing against Roman Catholicism at all. I'm not saying that. That was just my mother's instant reaction. Devil's work. She looked at me and she said, that's the devil's work. No, you won't be listening to that. 2 weeks to the day, my cousin is in a motorcycle accident. And my mother got the phone call from my aunt, and she looked at me, and I knew that phone call. I couldn't hear it, but I knew that phone call was coming. She grabs me by my knee and she looks at me like, what the hell am I going to do with you now that I know? In that instant, first of all, my cousin was not killed in the accident, nor did I see him get killed. I just saw him getting into an accident. He was fine in the end. He had an accident, but he was fine. Almost instantaneously, I had the little angel on my shoulder saying, this is not the devil's work. We are going to do great things with you. I remember it distinctly, even though I was little, and my whole parasympathetic nervous system calmed right down. 6 years of age, I went, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. This is all going to be okay. So I never stopped having premonition after that. I just kept my mouth shut until I was about 14 or 15 years of age. Was lied to my parents all the time because I was getting all these things I could never tell anybody.
You didn't sharing with them.
Kept it all quiet, but I always had them saying to me, this is okay. This is okay for now. This is okay for now. At about 14 years of age, I went to our local library, lied to my parents and said I was going to do math homework, but I wasn't. I was going to read up around ghosts, the paranormal, psychics. I devoured anything and everything I could get on that. And the more I read and the more curious I became, the more fulfilled I could feel my energy going. It was just like, oh my God, this is the greatest. Oh my God, this is the greatest. Fast forward. So that was at 14. I would say that's when I really started to go on the trajectory of really understanding what was going on. And then when I went away to university, no longer in the small town where I was raised, I found my first spiritual intuitive therapist myself in Toronto. And I started to study. Not in practice, it was more study for myself to understand vibration. And then the more I studied and the more I maintained a connection to my own sense of intuition, the more the world expanded for me. I could really feel you and you and you and everybody else that was in the room, or I could really walk into a grocery store and say, this is not a good place to buy food. Let's go somewhere else, that kind of thing. So it was a slow development, but I just always go back to that story of me being a 6-year-old where that little angel on my shoulder said, this is fine. You are going to be absolutely fine. So fast forward, last part of the story is I studied under a world-renowned psychic whose name is Sonia Choquette. She was stationed in Chicago at the time. I flew back and forth from Toronto to Chicago. I think the course was about 2.5 years in total. I graduated from her course as an advanced 6th sensory practitioner. It's a mouthful. As a result of that, she came to Toronto to do a talk. I volunteered. She has books and books and books. And so I highly recommend anyone looking up her stuff if you want to put it in the show notes. So went to help her as a volunteer at a talk that she was giving in front of about 5,000 participants. And I was meant to be sitting at the volunteer desk just taking people's visas because they were buying her book. All of a sudden, the door opens from inside the auditorium. Someone yells at me, Elizabeth, Sonia wants you up on the stage. Well, I'm accustomed to her doing work with me in front of others. Like she'll do a reading on me. And then I thought that's what she was
in front of
the 5,000 people.
Well,
So I go up on the stage and I'm all ready because we've done this before. This is not new and exciting for me. And then she says to 5,000 people, if anybody really wants a great intuitive therapy session and you live in the Toronto area, Elizabeth is your girl. And that's how my practice started. The next thing you know, I'm at the volunteer desk and I had to just grab a piece of paper and start writing down what day people were going to come and see me. And that's how my therapy practice started. So grateful for that. So grateful. I'm like, what?
it's so amazing, and it's it's hard to convince a lot of people they're not, I hate to say educated, but they're not willing to open their minds into learning new things and touch and try to understand different emotions. And I'm going to share my personal experience.
Yeah.
7 years ago, when we sat down, we had a dinner at Campielo's with you, and that time I think Belle was 3 years old, and me and my wife were sharing with you that we want to have another kid or two. And I'm not sure if my wife asked you the question, like, can you see if that's going to happen for us or not? This is 7 years ago. And you look at us and your eyes got a little, like you had tears in your eyes. You didn't give us an answer, but I got chills now. But the energy I felt from you and the energy that you kind of share with us or me was, you guys going to go through some tough times, but you'll get it. So don't quit. And my wife had 5 miscarriages after Bella. And I never asked you, did you see that's going to happen?
We knew the tough times, yeah.
It's just, I still got chills. I never share this with anybody. It's like, and then after the 5 miscarriages, now we're blessed with 3 kids. We have 2 more. We have Ava and Nicole, and life is great again. But I felt that. And I'm sure, people can say this is BS, whatever. But I knew that you saw that we're going to go through hell. I hate to say hell, but we're going to go through tough times, but we're going to make it. And I know you believed in us back then. And
100%.
Do you remember that?
I do. I distinctly remember it. And I'll share with you now what I saw, again, by prophecy. I saw lots of neutrals. So neutral, as I mentioned earlier, is good. Neutral's fine with me. Neutral's great. And then I saw the dips. Neutral.
They're like negative vibration.
Yeah. Dip. I don't remember whether I saw 5, meaning 5 miscarriages. I just saw the dips. I saw the dips. But I also remember what I saw at the back end. July 4th, when you guys have the little firecrackers that, you hold them on a stick and they're all like, that's what I saw. I saw the fireworks that that makes me want to cry. I saw the fireworks at the end, and I knew everything would be well. Everything would be well.
Just amazing. It amazes me. And I appreciate, and I love, and that's why I want to share your message to the world. And I talk to everybody about you, and I'm sure there's more people in the world that do the same.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's lots of me's in the world, and we're starting to speak up more and more. Thank God for podcasting. Thank God for technology, because we're able to get the message out a lot quicker, a lot more succinctly, and people are becoming less and less leery about it. It's not woohoo. Going back to the beginning of this conversation, this is very real stuff. This is really good stuff. This is the stuff that, again, changes people's lives. And if you change your own personal life and your own personal experience, that has to affect everybody else in the room. We're all energy. You want to talk about the work of Joe Dispenza or Bruce Lipton, any of these guys, Greg Braden. These are all bona fide quantum. I don't know if they're all quantum physicists, so don't quote me on that. But they're all educated people learning. All this stuff that I've been teaching for 35 years is now being proven by science. And I think that's part of what that little angel on my shoulder is that we're going to be okay. You just carry on. We're going to be okay. We'll get the message out eventually. Things will be well eventually. And I have to share another quick little story if we have time for this. When I had our children, my husband and I brought them to New York City for a little trip. And we decided we were going to rent an Airbnb instead of a hotel room, so that we felt like we were living in Manhattan. Like it was going to be a cute little adventure, right? So we're at this beautiful loft in Chelsea, and my husband and I's bed was up 3 steps, like a studio apartment, right? It was just one great big massive room, little kitchen, the whole bed was cute. And then down 3 steps, and the kids each had a sofa bed, and it's cute. So we have a lovely day, and everything was all well. 4 o'clock in the morning, on a Saturday night, I'm woken up. And I looked at my husband. It's unusual for him to do that. So I thought, oh, shoot, something's wrong. He's sound asleep. So there's something nudging me to wake up. So I wake up. I'm not afraid, right? I'm used to this kind of stuff. Yeah, it was literally, I felt he was going like this. I felt like he was nudging me. So I sat up, and there was my spirit guide in full apparition. She looked like an apparition. She was so beautiful and so glowy. What you would think is an angel, I guess, for lack of a better. She didn't have wings, but she was just this full-on beautiful, beautiful being. That makes me want to cry every time I tell this story. And I just looked at her as if to say yes. And she says, I am here for you. I am here representing 7 other energies. They will speak through me to you through your right ear. Going forward, should you choose to accept this mission. It was kind of like that. You're going to take this mission. And she brought me into an environment. I was in this white field of white flowers. Like it was just all beauty. I'd almost felt like the way people describe a near-death experience, but I knew I wasn't dying. I knew it was something different than that. And she said, we need you.
Did you try to escape? Like, did you?
No,
try,
I couldn't even move. Yeah, I was 100% comfortable. I'm like, oh, this is something new and exciting. I'm not getting a prophecy. Yeah. She's pointing at her right ear as if to say, we will speak to you through your right ear going forward. She distinctly said, I'm representing 7 energies. They will speak to me. They will speak through you. We need you to do this important work. I'm like, oh, well, I just about needed a Chardonnay right about then, right? Like, I'm like, oh, okay. I remember just putting my hand over my heart and kind of accepting this. It wasn't like an instantaneous thing. It was like I could tell they were looking for me to do something pretty wowzer, right? At that moment, when I put my hand over my heart to think about it, my little boy, 6 years of age, springs up out of his sofa bed right there.
Costa.
My son, Costa. And he says, Mommy, yes, Costa. I said to him, he says, do you see what I see? And I went, oi.
So he has the same powers.
Yes, honey, I see what you see. Is she here for you or is she here for me, Mommy? I said, she's here for me. And he said, are you safe? Are you okay? He didn't say safe because he was little, but he said, are you okay? And I said, hun, Mommy's totally fine. Can I go back to bed? And I said, yeah. Back to bed he goes.
Wow. Has that happened again ever since? Like
he's naturally intuitive.
Is he aware? Yeah. He's aware.
He's very naturally intuitive. So is our daughter Ileana. She just didn't experience it that way. She experienced it very, very differently. I remember when she was little, very little, almost like babe in arms, little, looking in her eyes, and I knew that she knew. We call that, some people call it a psychic veil. You're born with the veil, and then it sounds a little too woo-hooey and scary to me, but it's kind of like that. You can look into their eyes. It brings me back to the thing I was saying earlier about Bella. These little ones come in, we call them cable ready. They don't need to be taught to listen to their intuition. We make big, massive mistakes by squishing them. We still are bloody well squishing them. They know.
I love that you're going that direction, because I really have an eager feeling about how we raise our kids and the domestication, and then it starts from home and then it goes to school. And I think we are dopamine junkies, and we do that to our kids as well. Food, junk food, video games, screen time.
Yep.
And I don't know, it sounds scary when you say, oh, it's they're setting us up, and this is, the whoever controls the world is doing this to us. But I think all these stupid things that we're now addictive to, instead of going out, we spend time on the phone. Instead of playing games, we play video games. Instead of reading books, we watch Netflix movies. I think all of this weird, all these modern trendy things that people are doing now every day lower the vibration of the power of using that intuitive feeling. Because as you said in the beginning, we all have it. But I think with the dopamine junkies that we are becoming, and as a society, we're squishing that, and we're not using it. It has to change.
It has to change. And these little ones will, They just won't have it in the end. In the end. So for now, they're being raised this way. In the end, they will not have it.
Yeah.
Again, I'll bring my children into it who are young adults. They will call bullshit on anything.
I love it.
If it is like, it's
like,
Mom, this is not right for me. This is ridiculous. The way this is blah, 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 whatever the situation.
So how do you know? How do you know if the intuition is right when even the odds are telling and the logic is saying, oh, that's the society is saying that should be done. That's very good. And then your intuition is like, no, that's not. How do you raise kids to call it bullshit?
This is where the rubber hits the road and it gets a little tricky. So I'm going to talk about vibration. Okay. So the more quality time, I'll say, we spend with ourselves allows us to maintain a relationship with our vibration, with our intuition. Okay. So that's the vibratory center. Okay. And we now know through quantum science that there's such a thing as a high vibrating state and a low vibrating state. We use the word emotion. It just makes it a little bit easier. So high vibrating emotions, low vibrating emotions. And they've proven this now. I love to say this now because science supports it. 35 years ago when I talked about this stuff, everybody thought I was like loopy. But this is science proves it now. If you take a little cell from your finger and you put it under a microscope, enlarging it a bajillion times, and you yell at it. I hate you. You're the stupidest thing ever. I freaking think you're ridiculous and you're ugly. It starts to low vibrate. It just goes like this. And if you take that same cell and you say, I love you. This is a joyful life. This is such an amazing thing. It goes like this, gets all excited. And I have been part of experiments over the years where we as intuitive therapists have gotten together from afar for a surgeon who's doing heart surgery on someone in New York City. And I'm in Toronto. I sign up for this thing and we're all at the same time send positive energy to that patient and their heart responds. As soon as we stopped, the heart responded again. The person was fine, completely safe, but it was part of an experiment for quantum physicists to see if energetically we could put good vibration on. So if you understand that concept of vibration, there are high vibrating states like love, joy, happiness, cool. And then there are low vibrating states, anger, jealousy, rage, frustration. So they make you go, ew, like they're low. Yeah. They're there, but they're kind of eh. And there's ones up here. Through the act of sitting still, which is where meditation comes in really handy, we can change that vibrational offering. If we choose to listen to our intuition, spend some time with self, we can maintain neutral or higher. And then the law of attraction kicks in and has to give us that. I'll give you an example from a live example. And again, it might sound woohoo, but thank God science is starting to support all this kind of stuff. As you can imagine, through my private practice, I have a lot of people who come in who have problems with depression. Depression is very real. We're not waving a magic wand and go, oh, no, depression is not even, it is. It's a very real thing. But as you can imagine, it's a low vibrating state. Okay. So someone will come in. This is very common. Hello. I am depressed. I've been depressed for a very long time. I've been to my doctor. My doctor diagnosed me with depression. I'm taking medication for my depression. And guess what happened? I went to a family gathering 2 weekends ago and my mother tells me that depression runs in the family, that my grandfather, died by suicide because of depression. And this client's all like full of depression. Right? Which is okay. I 100% get it. I 100% get it. They will come through and inevitably say to them, you apparently like to be depressed because that's all you're offering us. And that sounds a little crass, but they're trying to be funny about it, really, to be honest with you. But if that's all you're going to talk about and that's all you're going to offer us, then you're going to have to stay there. And of course, and almost always, if not always, they say, no, like I'm here to get out of this depressive state. We teach them through their intuition to change their vibration. And as soon as they change their vibration to neutral or better, the depression goes away. Drugs go away. Doctors can't believe that the depression's gone, all because we teach them to use their intuition.
Just right there, I actually wanted to share a quick anecdote about that idea, because I'm not somebody that struggles with depression, but I do struggle a lot with jealousy, like just
lower vibrating.
when you're pursuing entrepreneurship, I think you're just constantly inundated with these lower vibrating frequencies.
Jealousy is for sure the wall.
Jealousy is
Big
for
time.
sure. Jealousy, envy, greed, all those things. But
we all have it though.
everybody, and especially when you're pursuing something and you're putting yourself out there. But I had a moment a few weeks ago where I haven't traveled in like 4 months, and I kept feeling like I need to better this, I need to better that, I kept basically insinuating that what I had was not good enough, and it obviously gave me all those feelings back. And I was driving somewhere and I was like, I just want to create heaven on earth right now, which is basically just, now that I'm understanding what you're talking about, it's just neutralizing that current state of like, where I'm at is not bad, it's neutral. And since then, I've actually felt myself being able to feel, understand, know my thoughts, and I have a much better sense of clarity. So what you're describing is like this, it's kind of throwing my brain for a loop, because there's so much realness to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And thank you for sharing that. And for being honest about it, because a lot of people just want to poo-poo the whole thing. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
As you were driving and you kind of got that feeling of neutralization, you may not have been aware of it at the time. That type of divine insight, I call that divine insight, generally hits us somewhere in the body. It doesn't have to be the intuitive center. Sometimes, like I said, I get messages this way. Sometimes I just get this glowy kind of like someone's pouring pudding, like really nice pudding all over me kind of thing. Do you recall if there was a particular physical sensation that accompanied it?
Anytime I have that feeling, my whole body starts to vibrate. It feels like my whole body is on vibrate, and it's like this unignorable feeling of like there's something going on in my body. And for many times in my life, I've actually ignored that. Like it's like all of a sudden it'll rustle in me, and then I'll just be like, I have to put it to bed. But that specific moment, it was like my whole body was.
Oh, love that! I love that.
It was wild.
See, now as you're describing that, you're very open. I can read your energy like crazy. In fact, when I walked into the room, I could feel that creative energy. And so it brings back to me just another little sidebar to this whole big picture of intuition thing. We believe that we're all brought into planet Earth with gifts and talents that are meant to be shared with the world. None of them are shitty. Like, they're all really great things that we should be sharing with the world. We're taught to fight. You were talking about jealousy in business world. We're taught that over talking or suggesting what our higher self is telling us that we need to do. You, dear friend, are born a creative genius. I can feel it. I can feel it in your body. I can feel it in your energy. I can feel it. But here's the cool thing about that. It's almost, that's like your life mission. I don't really like saying that, but like your life purpose or your life mission. So you're divinely gifted by the universe or God, whatever you choose to call that energy, to be a creative. Now, you can use that creativity and do really awful things with it. You could do awful things with creativity. You could create a nuclear bomb and throw it over to the other end of the world, and here up we go and smoke. Like, you could do that. Okay? Obviously, you're not going to do that. They're suggesting to me to tell you that it is so much a part of who you are, this creativity, that if you stop creating in a neutral or better place, you will die. And they mean generally your spirit will die. So I'm not getting a premonition of your physical death. Just if you don't create, your soul will just kind of eat away at itself, eat away at itself, eat away at itself, eat away at yourself. So we want you going forward to have a mantra in your head. Just when you think you've created enough today, because you've done some great work today, you've done some really cool graphics, whatever, video things, etc., that you do, create some more.
One more.
And just when you think you've created, one more time before I go to bed, let me give myself one more divine idea. You are surrounded by divine creative ideas. Your head probably can't even keep up with them. That's how much of a creative genius spirit you are. And please, please, please carry on. And if you and your fiance decide to have children one day, or et cetera, do not squish that in your little ones, because your little ones will be you on steroids. You will attract little spirits from the other side who want a dad who's creative. So you better damn well do that, right? Isn't that wild? It's wild.
That was And I just got that when you said that, I got that feeling again. My question on that, are we living in an environment where we have access to things, drugs, processed foods that can divert us from that? Is there a way to live where you can tap into that more, or is it just the acceptance of it?
It always starts with acceptance. That's an excellent question, actually. Always starts with acceptance, and it's very difficult. Let's say, I'll put it this way: it's very difficult in the world that we live in to avoid all things that are not good for us. I mean, just breathing air is not good for us at this point in time. We can clear a lot of that negativity through, I want to say the word meditation, but I'd like to expand on that a little bit. It's not oming at the top of a mountain in the Himalayas for 8 hours. It's not what I mean by that. You could be driving, when you were driving the other day, listening to a cool piece of music, and that's meditating. Like, I am totally present. I'm present with my steering wheel. I'm present with this song that's on the radio. You are totally present. If you had just had a really bad, quote unquote, bad lunch, processed food or something like that, that moment there will negate any of the negatives from that. But we don't want people walking around all day saying, "Oh crap, I ate that, that shitty burger, and then therefore I have to meditate to clear it." That's just remain as best as we possibly can in the present moment and understand that the universe is benevolent. It wants what's best for us. So when people say, "How come all the crappy things happen to me?" Well, that's because that's what you're offering vibrationally. It's the universe or God's not sitting up there saying, "And by the way, you're a bad boy when you were a boy, so little kid, so I'm going to punish you." Not a chance. Not a chance. The universe, God's saying, "Hey, you have an opportunity to live a really amazing, fulfilled life. You chose to be here. Why are you guys all wrapped up in all the crap that you're wrapped up in when your life could be so much better, so much different?"
Because I think people tend to compare themselves all the time with other people with the same industry. I think it's a single player game. I understand it as, in my business, there's 11,000 of
No
me.
kidding. I was going to say this,
Florida.
Very prominent.
But I think I'm a single player in the game I'm playing in real estate because I'm only as good as I was yesterday. And if I don't improve myself, I'm not going to be better. But if I compare myself, then I'll be miserable.
Right.
So I stopped comparing myself. I don't even look what the competition is doing. A lot of books will say, "Oh, you got to, take notes, see what this guy is doing." No, I just do me, and I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. As simple as that.
That's brilliant.
That brings me happiness.
That brings you happiness. And where in your body do you feel that happiness? If you can, maybe.
It's always here.
Yeah.
I'm a very emotional guy. Like I feel, love, joy, angry, happiness, and I don't hide my emotions. I try to share them all the time, and I tell people I love them when and I really don't hate anybody. I don't envy anybody. I admire people. And since day one, and even when I was in middle school, high school, I was always hanging out with working, more successful, older people than me. And even today, my friends are always older than me. And I always feel more comfortable being with high achievers, not just business, but in life in general, because I feel like I can learn from these people and then I can pass that along. So my comfort zone is people. I want to always sit with people that are more successful than me in any terms. And Ilya the other day asked me, "Well, what's success, Blaze?" And it's always, success, it's kind of sounds weird when somebody says success and everybody thinks about money right away.
Of course.
It's not that. I think success is happiness, and happiness is a moment, and you don't feel happy all the time. So if you're not happy, then what? You're not successful? It's confusing.
Yeah, it is.
It's confusing to people too.
Yeah.
And I tell my 9-year-old Bella, soon to be 10, because I see her changing emotions all the time. She comes back from school Friday. She's tired. She had dance classes. And I sat down with her and I said, "Daddy, you don't have to feel happy and fully energetic all the time."
No, of course not.
And it's hard. It's hard even for younger kids to understand. There's all this pressure that the world is putting on. Everybody is tough. That's why I think we need more of this as a lesson in school, starting from a young age, and people can understand it better, so they can drive it easier when they're older. I'm sure you heard this before. You're young and energetic, but you don't have you have time, but you don't have money, and then you're in your middle age, you have money but you don't have time. I kind of feel like I'm in that right now. I'm always busy. I have no time, but I don't complain about it. And then when you get older, you're like, oh, I have time and money, but I don't have energy now.
Right.
So how can you combine those 3 time zones into one, regardless where you are in life?
Right. We call that being in the present moment. That's mindfulness. That's mindfulness 101, right?
And going back to the jealousy thing, make sure you follow Elizabeth-Parojcic on Instagram, and for the EBITs every day.
Oh, yeah, my
once
EBITs,
a week.
Elizabeth
Or
Bits.
yes, Elizabeth. And one thing I really practice a lot, and I learned from you, I want to share it. I'm sure people will follow you and they're going to learn more. Is Elizabeth is saying, close your eyes, put your hand in front of your eyes, 30 seconds, then open your eyes, lift your hand up, and then be grateful for 5 things you're going to see right away.
Whatever you see,
Whatever you see, just be grateful for. And then brings you, it's a 30-second practice. I swear, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I use it all the time.
God.
It's amazing. And everywhere you are, I'm in the office, I open my eyes, hey, look, I have books, I have my desk, things I don't even pay attention when I'm just busy doing work. And work is fine. But I understand that, being successful, a good friend, a good parent, good husband, it's far more important than the money you're going to make in life, and far more important how you feel by doing it.
Right. That's very, very true. That's spirituality 101 as well.
I learned from the best.
I'm glad you brought this point up, because I would like to make sure that our listeners understand something. When you were talking about Jamie being jealous, jealousy is real. Like, I go back to my story about the depressed person. So the point is not to, we call it spiritual bypass. If you're down here in jealousy or rage or anger, I want to be up here in joy and happiness and light and love. You cannot do that. Like, your spirit will just explode. You're changing the vibration too quickly. So we went through a phase, people like myself included, where we thought we could just wave that magic wand and all that depression and all that jealousy will go away, and we're going to bring everybody up here to be just like Jesus was. Light and love all the time. Well, all of our energetic fields started to explode. That happened. When did that Mayan calendar thing happen? December 2012, was it? Where we thought the world was going to come to an end?
It was November
2012. We
Oh,
were
12.
Yeah,
There was
yeah,
a movie
12,
about it too.
Yeah.
People like me, we worked so hard getting up to that point in time, because we sincerely believed it could have been, it's unfortunate, but it could have been the tipping point to humanity being such a much better place. So we weren't talking about death of the planet. We were talking about the death of the vibration of so much density. It's low, right? We prayed our little asses off to try to get us to that point where there was going to be more people in neutral or better than there was below. But here's the...
Because we're all connected.
We're all connected. We're all in energy field. So I'm feeling everybody's energy field here. We're all listening, and I'm learning, and I'm feeling your energy, and I'm feeling Tony's energy, and this is heaven to me. This is heaven to me. But to understand that one of the greatest gifts the universe gives us, and it's a good one when we use it good, and it's a bad one when we use it bad, is free will and choice. So prior to our little souls coming into human beings, of being a baby, the universe says, you're going to go down, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to have a blast. Because you are being gifted, I'll use your example again, Jamie, because we talked about it. You are being gifted creativity at its best. You have creative genius energy. Have a nice life. And your little spirit's going, yay, can't wait to do that. Just as you're ready to come through the clouds, I know it's a story, but to come through the clouds, the universe looks at you and says, oh, but just a second, I forgot to tell you something. And you look back and you go, yes, you chose to be born human, right? You didn't choose to be born a horse or a dog or a fish. You're choosing to be born a human. Your little spirit goes, yep, that's right. And I'm excited. Let's go. The universe says, I'm going to give you the greatest gift of all that I only give to human beings with consciousness, and that's free will and choice. That can make it difficult for you, but it doesn't have to make it difficult with you. Have a nice life. And he throws it out.
We tend to complicate things.
Yes.
It's us.
And to understand that if you're in jealousy is super real.
Yeah.
So and to say to yourself, well, I'm experiencing jealousy. I can feel my creative genius working with whatever I'm trying to work with here. Is that helpful?
No.
And if it's not helpful, then you owe it to yourself to change your vibration. Now that is different for everybody, but a kind of like a universal one, just as a little tip, is music. If you're down here in jealousy and you just know, oh, jeepers, that does not feel good at all. I'd rather be over here creating this. I'd rather be over here creating this, but I got this jealousy thing. Don't bypass it. Don't say, never mind. Don't grab
Don't stuff it.
a joint, and don't grab, you can have a joint, I don't care. But don't grab the joint to make it go away. We have to deal with this thing called jealousy and change it and make it malleable and make it less intense so that you can get right back up to neutral or better.
But jealousy in many, if you look back in history, like a lot of poets and people who fall in love in a girl and they were jealous. I mean, that brings creativity sometimes too, right? So I think people can use it as a power weapon to become better,
right?
As an emotion, because it's still an emotion. It's a bad one. It doesn't feel good when you're jealous. But I've seen. I mean, I used to be a poet, and I remember when I was in love.
You're still a poet, darling.
But I just don't use it. I don't
Okay.
practice it. But
Okay.
but Emilia, when we were in high school, I fall in love in my wife right away, and I knew she's gonna be my wife. But hey, she still is very beautiful. And a lot of guys wanted to date her. She was not dating, but I was like jealous of that. But that jealousy made me write songs about her that I still have, and she has them too. And I think I share some with Bella. And I use that jealousy as a weapon to write down stuff. I'm an emotional poet. I cannot just sit down every day and practice like writing stuff. But when I feel high vibration of emotions, I can write down stuff that I don't even, when I read it, I'm like, wow, this is me. Like,
yeah, that's amazing. I'd love to read some of it.
And I will share it. But that's how I learned that jealousy. That's how I trigger like jealousy to. That was maybe my way of
diffusing it, which is what I was saying
yeah,
to Jamie.
which is
Right? You
amazing.
find a way. This doesn't feel good. The key there is when you feel jealousy or anger, you don't get to just act on it. Like you just don't walk up to somebody and punch them in the face. Right? Like no, I'm feeling jealousy. I'm feeling anger. You don't want to undermine your business competition. You don't want to. That's not the way to have good karma, right?
No.
But I'm still feeling it. You use that ball of energy called jealousy and diffused it by creating poetry with it. Yeah.
Love it.
George Lucas calls it bleeding on a page. When he wrote
Nice.
Star Wars, like George Lucas was not a writer.
No, he's
So
an emotional writer. Yeah.
He hated the action of writing.
Yeah.
But the long story short was he'd basically gotten the money for Star Wars, but realized he had to write it himself. And he said all he did was just bleed on the page. And it was just this very painful and almost felt misaligned. And it's this interesting feeling of you do experience these lower vibration frequencies, but can you create on it? Can you create with it?
Right.
Can you not?
I think you can.
And I think
just
it's
proving that. Yeah.
I was reading Robert Greene, The Laws of Human Nature,
yeah.
and it's one of my favorite books I've ever read, and it's taken me a while, but it talks about the shadow, and it's exactly what we're talking about, where we go through our life. Now I'm starting to understand the shadow kind of means intuition, but we have all these ranges of emotions, and because we are put in social circumstances where that will make us look like an outcast, that will make us feel weak, unaccepted, all these different things, we stuff it down. So when we feel a feeling, an emotion, anger, something, we're trained to put it down here.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to understand all that's doing is blocking the inevitability of you getting to your intuition.
Right.
Or when a friend asks you how you feeling, I'm fine. I'm
Oh
fine.
my
Like,
God,
that's the
my
worst
thing
answer
ever. That's my
know,
worst
man.
thing ever.
I don't know who said this, but it's amazing, and I use it all the time. Stop asking why, and start saying wow. And everything that happens to you, like don't say why, but wow, and then you I think the little tricks that I'm sure you use this in your practice, like you can use them to change the
Exactly.
right away.
Right.
Catch the emotion and be like, whoop, you just change it.
You
and
can
then
change it around. And it's not, I'm going to say it's not unfortunate. Like, it's just part of the process. Like I mentioned this magic wand. There is no bloody magic wand. You have to go through that, or George Lucas has to go through that. Or we all have to look at our shadows from time to time. But if you're in present moment and you're mindful of them and you're like, oh, this doesn't feel good, I'm going to apply some of these principles that I'm learning, I can start to shift that. And if you just shifted 0.0001%, guess what the universe does? The universe is up here, up there, looking down, going, oh, look at that Blaze guy. He changed jealousy into creativity. Yay, let's have a party for him and let's give him more opportunity. Same with you. If you learn how to deal with that jealousy, understand it, put on some cool music, change it around a little bit. Even, I'm just getting a premonition for you. Look at, this might happen sooner than you think it's going to happen, but your competition will come up with something that's very cool, some creative, something that's very, very cool. And you might want to go into jealousy, like, shit, why didn't I have that idea? Bah, bah, bah. That will probably happen. For you to stop and say to yourself, okay, there's flaws, not negative, but there's flaws in that person's idea too. So I'm to look at it like this, whatever this creative project is, find the flaws, and because you're the creative genius. Don't ever forget that you are a creative genius. You're not just a creative, you're a creative genius. So you have the capabilities of, I'm going to say, poking holes in that project. That's fine for that person. We're not saying it's going to fail. We're just saying for you, if that jealousy starts to come up again, there's something being presented to you that you can poke holes in and leave them to their success. Like, let them have all the success they want. But I'm going to poke holes in it because my creative genius is coming through like gangbusters. Wait for it. And you can text me or call me when you have the experience.
I feel as though I know exactly what you're talking
about.
Oh,
there you go.
That's really, really strange because I think Ryan knows exactly what's happening too. That's wow. You are exceptionally gifted at what you do.
We always want to come back to the benevolence of the universe. So all the guides, all the angels, all the whatever's floating around that I talk to, our family pet passed away about 1.5 years ago, and she still comes to me. Like, the little dog still comes to me and reminds me to be playful, et cetera, et cetera. So all these things are floating around in non-physical space. They just don't look like us, right? But they are up there going, oh my God. Look at Ryan. Ryan's doing a really good thing today. Look at Ryan go. And then they provide more opportunities for us to do that. Here's the kicker, of course, for every one of those that I say, there's these ones. And for every time that someone says, I hate my job. I hate my wife. I hate my life. Well, there's nothing I can do about it. I guess it's just the way it goes. Or you can imagine what that does to someone like me. I want to just, and I'm not an unkind person. I just want to poke them in the face and say, come sit with me. I'm going to tell you, there are ways to better your life. This is the other part of the kicker, though. You guys are getting the whole like spiritual university lesson. Is because we are all connected. This is where it's a little challenging right now. It's very hopeful, but very challenging. Is there are more low vibrators than there are high vibrators. So I think there's 8 billion or 9 billion people on the planet.
Probably like 9.
A lot. 9. Yeah. We're going to say, as a spiritualist, as an intuitive, we're going to say about 7 billion of them are low vibrating. So that's a lot of dense energy. And because of the law of attraction, they're pulling people who are in the higher realms, or trying to.
Should that number be balanced, like the yin and yang?
Yes. Well, that's where we thought we had in 2012. Okay. We thought we were going to be able to just tip those scales, and damn it, people have free will and choice.
There's no way for the 8 or 9 billion people to be all high vibration. It's just
no. Then the world wouldn't even exist. Okay. We have to have that contrast. We have to have jealousy.
Yeah.
In order to understand happiness and joy and creativity at its best. Then you have to know anger. You have to know sadness. A dog died. We were pretty sad. You have to know sadness.
It's what you do about it.
Yes. It's what you choose to do about it. And it's all free will and choice. So when someone says to me, I hate my job, I hate my wife, my life sucks, my car got a flat tire yesterday, I'm like, awesome. Because that's the only thing you're offering. And so have at it. Have at it. But it doesn't have to be that way.
I think this intuitive coaching should become a thing in companies, in organizations, mandatory. in like a mandatory, like a once a month or maybe once a week kind of a boost to employees, and so people can elevate themselves into a higher level of performing. A lot of people ask me, and I now I understand why, I guess, and I see myself in that position as you're not always like excited and happy, but when I'm with clients and I do my work, I can lift my vibration, and I learned that from you, but like I can go in a higher vibration so I can perform better.
Yes.
But then when everything is done and the showing or the sale or the meeting is over, you go back to your neutral, and you're still listening a book, music, do your meditation.
Yep.
So just from misconception that a lot of people think if you're a happy guy or a positive guy or a high vibration guy, you're not always like a little clown jumping around and doing stuff.
Energizer bunny, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can, I think mastering that is like, you can pretty much use that vibration whenever you need it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a really strong sense that I'm getting for you this morning, Blaze, is this insatiable, this is one of your God-given gifts, is an insatiable curiosity for every freaking thing. Just be never stop. Like we say to him, never stop being creative, never stop being curious. Look at that pretty fabric. I wonder how they make that fabric. Look at this beautiful table. I wonder what that stain color is called. Look how irrelevant that is to life. But your neurons and your heart center and then your solar plexus, where your intuition sits, all aligns. The more curious you are, and then you get for you, I see your intuitive center jumping right up to your heart, which is all green and glowy. That's funny. We were talking about how
when we see each other
today.
Green here.
All your is green and glowy, and then that makes an instant connection to what we call the crown chakra, which connects you right up to the heavens or to the universe. So the same kind of direction we gave to Jamie over there is the more curious you are.
Curious.
Be a little more curious. There's one more thing to be curious about. One more thing to be curious about. Keeping your mind and consciousness very much in flux, because there's a lot coming at us, right? There's a bazillion things coming at us in a day. So we also have to discern, that one's not mine. That one, okay, but that one's actually not mine. So here's one of the greatest examples that we use around this nowadays is listening to the news, right? So news is... tough. It can be tough, right? It is what it is. We are in the world, blah, blah, blah. To discern whilst watching the news, to be an informed citizen of the US in your case, or Canada for me, or the world. Let's just be informed. But it's not mine. Like that hatred floating around. There's a lot of hatred floating around, a lot of divisiveness floating around, a lot of low vibrations, very dense, right?
Yeah.
To determine that that's not mine.
It's not your fight.
It's not my fight. It's not my fight. And in fact, this might not be popular with, what I'm going to say might not be popular with a lot of people, but I think people kind of get the gist of it. When something really, really crappy happens in the world, like a bombing, I'll just use that as an example, like a Unabomber or something like that. And it's horrible. Of course, it's traumatic and it's horrible. It is. It's just horrible on all kinds of levels. When I watched that on the television and they put up the mugshot of the person who they caught that did something that was so horrific, I stopped the television on purpose and I put my hand over my heart and I look at that person in the eye through the television screen, not condoning a damn thing, not saying anything other than, you must be so low vibrating to do that. Doesn't excuse that. I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that. I'm just saying to understand and have compassion or empathy for something that's so, I can't fathom it.
No, same.
But it has to be. If I'm going to walk this talk and preach this stuff and teach this stuff, I have to be able to look at that and say, I don't love you any less than I love anybody else. And holy smokes, you must be super troubled, and you're an asshole. Because you did that. Like, it's still the fact of the matter. But that's how we start to change things. And just instead of just blaming our government or blaming our teaching practices or blaming the school or blaming the coach that your kid had. That's why my kid didn't win the trophy this year, is because it's the coach's fault. And like, oh my God. Yeah. Yep. And we're conditioned to do that. The blame game is very much alive and well. You talked earlier about people saying I'm fine, that just drives me nuts. Like that's like a swear word to me. Like, don't say you're fine. Just say happy. It's like, find another word, but
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm healthy.
Yeah.
I'm joyful. I'm fulfilled.
fine. Women are really good at that, though. We're really conditioned to say, I'm fine.
My girlfriend, if she had a profession, I'm fine.
Women actually, they open up more than men. And I don't know if this is statistic or not. I haven't looked at the statistic, but I think that's maybe a reason why women outlive men more, because men tend to hide emotions more. No matter how
Yes.
tough times they're going through, they go back to their family at home and they're like, I'm not gonna bitch about it. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna eat it and move on. But I think women will open up with their friends. They'll say
we find ways of taking care of ourselves. Yes,
that's a problem with men. So I think we should be more able to communicate. As Jamie mentioned earlier, we have a shield. Like if I sit down with the boys and I say, man, I don't feel good today. I'm not selling anything. I kind of feel like I'm not progressing in this and that. I think we, as men, we feel like that's gonna make us weak. Like I'm just opening myself up, and that's a problem, because then you hold stuff inside, and then, hey, sickness. I think diseases. That's the reason of people being sick, because they're holding everything inside, and then it grows. Yeah,
we call that. We often say the body takes the last hit for the team. So as soon as the body starts to, or even something as simple as a headache, or you stub your toe a whole bunch of times, I'm like, what the hell? It's the body is telling you we've had enough. Yeah. There's some kind of dysfunction going on energetically, and so you're not paying attention. So stub your toe. Here you go, and again. And again, or headache after headache after headache. Then, of course, what happens, though, is because we want to bypass that. Who wants to feel the headache? No one wants to feel. So let's take some Tylenol.
Yeah.
Let's woof.
Instant solution.
And that's where I'm gonna ask you your stance on like what we talked about: processed foods, drugs, alcohol, things like that. My understanding is from this conversation, do not use it to run. If you want to use it to enhance life experience, that's different. But the second you're using it to escape a frequency,
to function every day,
to function to X, Y, and Z, you're missing the point of the thing.
Absolutely.
My favorite thing that you said on this podcast was
there are many though.
We're sent down to Earth to just have fun.
Yeah,
correct.
And nobody realizes that. Like all the books that I've read, Napoleon Hill, Laws of Success. That's actually what introduced me to this idea of frequency and everything like that. Because they start the book, the whole first chapter is talking about neurons and how when people sit in the same room together, there's this thing called a mastermind. And it was this very interesting topic. But
he has a table of people, that imaginary friends that are sitting in the same table.
And it's this idea of like imagination, enthusiasm, all these things. It's just teaching us like, don't take it too seriously. Like this is so much fun.
So much fun.
Even through the really hard times. Because if you're able to flip it, well, that's the skill. That's the fun. That's
and it takes effort. Like let's not think you just sit here and go, oh, I'm all just
not
fine.
Easy. Yeah.
No, it's not easy. I have something else to share with you about that, Jamie. You bring us so many great points. I haven't done. Why am I saying we? There have been experiments done where I'll use myself as an example. I like white wine. For the record, should have told you guys that at the very beginning. Yeah, this has never bought me a bottle of wine. Right? I really, really enjoy my white wine, especially Chardonnay.
Yeah.
But there was a period of time where I was feeling particularly stressful. When I was a young mom, I was a little older when I had my kids, but it wasn't easy. Like I didn't have them when I was 21. I had them in my 30s. So I had already had a nice career, a nice car, nice clothes. Well, how come people are spitting up on my nice clothes now? Like, wow. So I went through a period of time where I found it very, very stressful. And my family doctor, who meant very well at the time, I absolutely I have no issue with her whatsoever. I went to see her in the hopes that she'd give me an antidepressant or something. Like my head's gonna pop off. I got these 2 little kids. My husband had started a brand new business, so he was gone doing that. I was home with the kids. That was the arrangement that he and I had. But anyway, I was starting to go a little bit loopy, so I go see my doctor. Can I have some pills, please? I just want something to take the edge off. And she says, "This is what I want you to do, Elizabeth. Go home, put the kids, safe, put them in the playpen or whatever, pour yourself a glass of wine and just chill." And I've been doing it for 38 years ever since.
Nice.
So here's the butt part. Here's the butt part. So I get that, why she said that. I do. Better probably the glass of wine than an antidepressant. I get it. I just took it to an extreme. But there was a period of time where I could tell I was bloody drinking to squish something, right? And so I had to course correct that. And it took me a long time to do that. I could tell, and I've done now experiments with myself. If I'm having a glass of wine because I'm mad or I'm angry, I've had a long day and a stressful one, I feel like crap. If I have that same glass of wine while I've had an incredibly beautiful, joyous, abundant day, same.
It's even better.
And nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens. It almost has no impact other than to enhance the joyfulness. And if I'm having it the other way, of course, it does me harm. And then I wake up with the headache the next morning because I didn't. It was.
And you can't perform, and you.
I'm very aware. So I'm aware that if I feel like I want to have a glass of wine right now, why? Why are you? Why? Connect in. And if it's because you're angry, well, then I need to pick up the phone and deal with that, or write out my anger, or correct it.
I think alcohol, it's a topic that it deserves like a full podcast.
Yeah.
An episode. And I changed the last couple of years. I don't drink with everybody. I choose the people I'm going to have a alcoholic experience with. Because not everybody is a good drinker. I'm not saying that good drinker is a thing, but some people get angry when they some people get emotional, they start crying, they want to fight, they want to do whatever. I choose the people I can enjoy a glass of wine or two or a bottle of wine, and that keeps my vibration even better. Sometimes you're in a good company, you drink with some, with great friends and family. So choose who you do whatever experience you're
and that includes food too, when you talked about or doing drugs or taking
screen time. I was just about to say
that's the worst.
There's this balance of, it wasn't until very recently that I started to see my screen time as that, where it was like the algorithm, all these things. They're dopamine buttons. That's all they really are. Yeah. So whenever I find myself, my screen time is very high.
Kills your creativity. Screen time kills your creativity. 100%.
Because it incites it incites jealousy.
It's kind of crazy because we're doing this to promote. I mean, we're going to share this on all the platforms.
Yeah.
But it goes back to being smart and select who you're going to listen to.
Yes.
So listen to us, guys. Where's the camera? Like, I mean, we're doing this obviously to provide good knowledge. I still don't know. Oh, yeah. I mean, because there's 90% of the things we watch on social media is just like really. And one of the reasons I don't want to, buy my Bella wants the phone. She's turning 10 next month. She said, I want a phone. I want to have my own phone. So we'll think about this.
Yeah.
I want to try to prolong that as much as possible.
You guys will notice now, I'm thinking about being in environments now. We just started to talk about alcohol, which just makes me think about bars or restaurants or where that kind of stuff
lunchtime.
is probably, we, when my husband and I are in Naples, I don't cook because it's holiday for me, right? So we go to a lot of really nice restaurants. Blaze and Amelia always recommend such great places. And then we got a couple little divey ones that we like to go to because we're Canadian and we want hockey and we want chicken wings. Right? That's the way we roll. So anyway, we've got our spaces to do that. And I've learned over the years, though, you can't control what everybody else in the room is doing, how alcohol is affecting them or not. But I can always hear the arguments, like husband and wife are way the hell over there, and I'm like, oh my god, those people are arguing. And my husband will say, well, can't you just turn that off? Well, not turn it off, I'm just not going to do anything about it though. Like, I'm aware, but I'm not going to do anything about it. And only once, I would say, in the last 5 years, I think it was within the last 5 years, I actually had to stop going into a restaurant. I went, I cannot go in there. There is so much going on that I can't even find a joyous table to sit next to where I'm going to enjoy my meal. That is attributed. It started to make me think of how low vibrating the planet really, really is. So if I had just kind of sucked it up and went in anyway and had my chicken wings and my glass of wine, I probably would have vomited by the end of the day, or by the end of the night, kind of thing. So we have to be aware of that. They're giving me for you. Sorry, Ryan.
I love this.
You're a very strong, very strong. What's the word they want me to use? They said, I told you that's, by the way, my spirit guide's name is Sophia. So Sophia is speaking to me through here.
Hi, Sophia.
She's full on. What's the best word? See, when they give me information, my job is to make it a human voice, like is to find a human word. They have words that we'll never hear of. Like, there's all kinds of words for joy and happiness. They've got a bajillion different words, but if I said them, you guys would think I was an alien. So I always go like this to say, what do you really want me to say? You are, okay, here's the best word. 2 words for you. Neutralizer. Any team or partner, or they're giving me more work environment team, is so lucky to have you, because you are an instant neutralizer. This is what they mean. That the day that I couldn't go into that restaurant because I said, oh no, that's too bad, you can walk into that restaurant with your gifts and you will neutralize the whole place. It's almost like this wave. I'm trying to think of the movie. Or sometimes they have movies about the apocalypse and then the bomb goes off and you see all that stuff spread, like it's part of the movie thing.
Yeah.
That's you. When you walk into to any environment, you are a neutralizer.
Yeah.
That is
He has
such
that energy.
a gift. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
It's comfortable to be around Ryan too. Like,
there you
I
go.
feel that way. Like,
Yeah.
he's
So you're the guy that does this.
That's
You're the
so
guy.
crazy. Well,
You're the guy.
the
I love
backstory
that.
to give more
I love that.
context,
Great.
because I want to show just it's truly divine. When we back in September, Ryan just got out of college, and I remember calling my business partner Jace at the time, and I was like, listen, I think Ryan, fresh out of college, didn't really know social media at the time. Like, we were just like, didn't have like the understanding. And I was like, there's something about his energy that I know no matter what in the team, around clients, has this energy. And we couldn't put our word it, but we just said he's a great hang. That was our saying towards it. It's like just a great hang. Ryan is always the best hang because you can be around him, and he does. He just
Oh, that's amazing.
lows
it makes you feel
the temperature
Yeah.
of the room.
And you have another
Thank you.
superpower, not only as a neutralizer, which we need desperately. Like if we
Mm.
could clone you to the tune of 7 billion people, we
You'll
wouldn't even be
neutralize
having
it,
this
yeah.
conversation. Like the world would just be the bestest place ever. So not only that, but you also have a really strong heart that's wrapped up around kindness. So I
That's
don't know
super
anything about
important.
you, of course, but you, like I see you just walking the earth, and everything you touch and everything that comes into your fray, you're spreading this kindness and this neutrality that makes everybody just want to go, oh, good, okay. So you're one of the kindest people walking the planet Earth, one of the kindest people. And take that gift with you and share it, because we need it, right? The
And
world
we talk about
needs
this in
it.
our
Thank you.
other podcasts and episodes. We need more kind people in the sport.
100%.
We need, so that's
And you have the same energy. I'm not they're my son has kindness energy in him as well, and
Yeah.
I feel very much the same vibe
Close
as
to
I
that,
do from my son. Yeah, that kindness. And so you might be given, so this is premonition, you'll be given opportunity in short order to be in an environment or a situation where there's going to be a little bit of this, and it won't be you. You're not going to be this. Someone will. I'm getting money, something around money.
test his kindness.
Yes. And so your opportunity would be like, oh, shoot, like I see this going down. This is an opportunity for me to utilize my gift called kindness. And you'll very easily, I see the words just flowing out of your mouth very, very easily, almost to the point that it'll come out of your mouth. That situation will be neutralized. You're not in danger or anything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying people being people. Coming out of your mouth, and about 20 seconds later, you'll go, did I say that? Because it's your divine kindness coming out. You're not using your head. What can I do in this situation? Your kindness area will just ignite. And the next thing you know, these beautiful words will flow out of your mouth. The whole thing will be neutralized. And you're like, oh shit. Did I do that? Did I just do that? And that's, get used to it. They're saying to me, get used to it.
Well, I'm very appreciative of that. Almost speechless.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Thank
and
you.
sometimes being kind and sometimes neutralizing things just means sitting in silence.
Yeah.
You could be in a restaurant and you see a couple over there, biting each other's heads off. You don't have to walk over there and be kind and neutralize the thing. That's probably none of your business. But you can sit where you are at your table and say, oof, I hope there's some kindness going to come out of that in the end. That changes. It changes. That floats right over to them. What they choose to do with it is not yours. The point is now the universe looks at Ryan and says, oh, he utilized that gift that we gave him. Yay. Let's give him more opportunities to do that. So we're all using our God-given talents or universal given talents it's innate enough in us to want the betterment. We're just caught up in a world that's so low vibrating, and the free will and choice thing has gone kind of yicky, right? That it's just going to take a little bit more doing. But
that's why I always say we're fortunate enough, at least for us, they live in Naples. Like I think Naples is at least, I feel that Naples is a higher vibration
I would agree.
As a town, as a place. And I've been fortunate enough to travel, and then you go to places, and some places you can tell that they're like very low vibration.
Yep.
Well, this was amazing. We can go on forever.
Please come on for a part 2.
We gotta do a part 2. Yeah, I mean, it feels like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
it's actually
I can tell you've given just myself so much clarity.
Oh,
wonderful. So I really do. I mean, if anybody is listening to this podcast, please go check out your work. Go check, like, if you can, and spend some time. Like, you're incredible.
How can reach you?
My website. I don't know if you guys do show notes like that. They'll probably website into it. I'm also just putting the finishing touches on a book, so there'll be lots coming up around the book around intuition. But yeah, my website, and I'm on Instagram with regularity, Facebook, et cetera. My social media girl takes care of all that for me. It's all my content. I don't let her write my stuff for me, but she just manages how.
Oh, it's amazing. I love the social media, and I know that's going to grow into a huge.
So in Canada, we have Tim Hortons coffee shops, right? I think they're starting to be in the States now, I think. And so we have those little donut holes. We call them Timbits. Everybody in Canada knows what a Timbit is. And because my name's Elizabeth, I had this, Sophia came through and said, let's call them E-bits. So they're electronic Elizabeth bits. And I just get in front of the camera and I say gibberish.
I love it. You should keep...
Please lean into that.
I see it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
People need.
Guys, I learn a lot.
And I do
short videos. Like,
well, I know, but if she comes through, or they come through and say today's the I have sometimes no makeup on. I'm at my cottage and my hair is blowing all over the place.
You had a video when you're recording the tree, which was amazing, and you're like, I'm not showing my face today, but like. It's cold outside.
I mean, I am still a human being who has some vanity, right? Like, I didn't even get to put lipstick on or mascara, and all of a sudden they're in there trying to tell me what to do. But anyway, it's been my absolute pleasure to spend time with you guys. Like, this is heaven on earth for me, man. This will last me a month.
Was this your first podcast?
I would say my first official podcast. Yeah, I've been interviewed, but this is my first bona fide. Yeah. Now I'm legit, man. Yeah. I'm in the legit world of podcasting. I love it.
Please keep doing whatever.
I love it. Thank you.
You're doing God's work.
Thank you guys. No, my pleasure.
So thank you.
This lasts me a lot. That's a wrap.